Hello and welcome to another Enhanced Vision OPTELEC video presentation. And today I've got great pleasure in introducing a very good friend of mine from a very good company, Schweizer Optic, and Mr. Uwe Hanschmann. We've worked together. We've worked together for quite a number of years in different formats, and today we're here to discuss a little bit about what Schweizer is and what they're all about. So, first of all, thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Paul.
Good, I hope you're well. So, for our viewers, can you tell me a little bit about who is Schweizer and a little bit about its history?
Sure. Schweizer Optic is a German low vision specialist and one of the oldest owner-managed companies in the German ophthalmic optic sector. It was founded in 1840, that means 180 years ago, by a gentleman with the name Abraham Schweizer, who was a metal craftsman, and initially he manufactured metal and optical toys. Okay. At that time, with the demand for spectacles rising, he soon started to produce metal frames. And over the course of time, the range of products was expanded and also included spectacle lenses, protective eyewear, and last but not least, also magnifiers, for example.
Of course. So is the company still owned by Schweizer?
No.
Okay.
The current owner family acquired the company in 1957 and built completely new facilities on the present site in Forchheim in Germany for a rational production of glass lenses. Later on, injection molding workshop was added that enabled them to work with different plastic materials which were coming up at that time. Such as, for example, the acrylic glass.
Yes.
In 1995, the next generation of the owner family entered the company, and the current managing partner, Alfred Schüttinger, joined the company. He, at that time, initiated a restructuring process, and he really started to position Schweizer as the low vision specialist.
Okay. So how did that affect the company's range of products and services?
The slogan that was created at that time was visual aids beyond eyeglasses. And under that slogan, Schweizer now offers, I think I can say, Europe's largest range of products for the visually impaired. That means, for example, from hand and stand magnifiers with or without illumination, to video magnifiers, special low vision lamps, telescopes, high edition spectacles, light protection spectacles. The company carries a wide range of low vision aids that help visually impaired people to make most out of their residual vision.
Okay.
The other thing, in addition, and I think this is a very important aspect as well, the company also offers regular and comprehensive professional training for its distribution partners. This is either in the classroom, well, not these days for obvious reasons, or online through a partner called Optic Academy, which is a web-based training platform that covers all aspects of low vision care. And that platform is available in German and English. And by the way, that platform is online since, I might be wrong now, probably more than 3 years, so a long time before we had this pandemic problem.
Absolutely. Okay. So what is the role then? Because I do know another company, the ImproVision. So what role does ImproVision take within the organization?
Yeah. Well, actually, I am representing ImproVision. ImproVision is a subsidiary of Schweizer, and ImproVision was founded in 2001 for the purpose to service the company's global export activities.
Okay.
So that means, in other words, ImproVision, we make Schweizer's product solutions available to our global partners. In addition, we also carry some own products which are more needed in overseas market than they might be needed in Germany, for example, or more designed for overseas market. We have our own range of high addition spectacles, for example. We have our own range of light protection spectacles, for example.
Okay.
And just like the mother company, just like Schweizer, ImproVision supports the distribution partners and offers professional training courses.
Okay.
Training is, in our belief, a key to this industry.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you on that one. And as with all training, it's always ongoing.
Yes.
There's always more things to learn and refresh on. So I agree with you on that one. So can you tell us a little bit about the history of lenses and magnifiers?
Yes, sure. Today's magnifiers have not much in common with early magnification devices, such as crystals and gemstones, which were already used by people in ancient Egypt or Rome to view small objects or small images. So there are historical paintings and documents dating back to the 30th century, which provide evidence of the use of magnifying lenses as a reading aid. And back then, there were simple converging lenses used. They were mounted in a lens holder ring, I would call it, and a handle was attached to it. And all those lenses were made of mineral glass.
Okay. Okay, that's well, is this material still used? Is mineral glass still used for magnification, or have we moved on to, I would hope, moved on to newer, more modern products?
We have moved on, but glass or mineral lenses are still manufactured and they are still used in magnifiers today. Not really in low vision, but let me explain that a little bit.
Please do.
The advantage of the glass lenses, the mineral lenses, are that they are highly scratch resistant and they are, let's say, less prone to deformation than other materials. So they are very popular still today in industrial applications, where, let's say, disadvantages such as weight are not that important. But you're right, they are not really in use in low vision magnifiers. And I mentioned already one of the main reasons, they are heavy.
Yeah.
That is a big disadvantage.
Yeah.
So so today magnifiers are fitted with plastic lenses, or to use another word that sounds maybe a little bit better, organic lenses. They are more common. They are mainly used in low vision. They are mainly used. As said before, they are considerably lighter than the comparable glass lenses. They are also highly break resistant, of course, depending on the plastic material used.
Yeah, yeah.
And as far as Schweizer is concerned, Schweizer started in-house production of plastic lenses in 1984.
Okay.
So yeah, 36 years ago.
Ooh.
And these plastic lenses were and are still made of a plastic material called PMMA, or the correct term is polymethyl methacrylate.
I'm glad you said that.
So I prefer to call it PMMA, you know.
I don't blame you.
But another expression that might be known to a lot of people is just a brand, one of the brands, or I think it was the first brand for this material, and that was plexiglass.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So that was really a brand for this material.
Okay.
So so that is the material of the plastic lenses that Schweizer makes, and besides that, when we talk about magnifiers in the past and magnifiers today, a lot of magnifiers nowadays use another feature, and that is illumination.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, very important. Just as important.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can talk about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what other features influence the quality of a good magnifier?
Well, I talked about the lens material. That, of course, is an important factor. But very important is also the lens design. That plays a major role. When it comes to the image quality. Especially when you think of higher magnifications. The image quality of a very simple magnifying glass becomes very poor due to optical aberrations such as distortion. So if you have a simple low magnification reading magnifier from the supermarket that has 1.5 times magnification, that probably is not yet that critical. But if you have a magnifier that might have, let's say, a 10 times magnification, and why do people use that? Because they need it, because of a visual problem. Let's put it this way, you also magnify aberrations and distortions then. So the design of the lens is very important to avoid that or to reduce that.
Okay.
And any optical lens shows more distortion towards the edges, and there is less distortion or no distortion in the center. So when you look, for instance, at a square, there is the so-called pincushion distortion, which means that the edges of the square are no longer straight, or they no longer appear to be straight, I have to say, but they are curved inwards. And if you have the so-called barrel distortion, then they are curved outwards.
Okay.
And these and other types of optical aberrations, they can be corrected with a special or the right lens design. Nowadays, most optical low vision magnifiers use aspheric lenses.
I was just going to ask about that, what type of lenses are used. So
yeah, these are aspheric lenses. And what does that mean? That means the radius of the curvature of an aspheric lens varies radially from the center of the lens. So that design almost eliminates distortion, which is very common for spherical lenses.
Okay.
And that design provides a high image quality. The product is lightweight, as mentioned before, because of the material used, the plastic material, and it offers a good value for money. I'm not saying they are cheap, but it offers a good value for the money.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing is that these aspheric lenses are very, I would even say, extremely tolerant to changes in the working distance, and they are more comfortable to use. That means for the user, it's not that critical whether he's changing the distance by a few centimeters more or less. He still gets a good image. Whereas if the design is not like that, then a little change in the distance would already create problems in the image quality.
Okay, so expanding on that, the lens design used by Schweizer, is there a particular well, is there a particular lens design? You've mentioned obviously spherical lenses, but the materials, etc. Could you expand a little bit more on that aspect?
Well, Schweizer is using an own brand of aspheric lightweight lenses in its magnifiers.
Okay.
It's called Azotal. These Azotal branded lenses, they are injection molded in-house, and they are made from this clearest optical PMMA. I'm not using the full word again. So from this PMMA plastic material,
yeah,
and yeah, the refractive index of that PMMA material is 1.49.
okay.
For those who are technically interested, the lenses are unbreakable, and once they are molded, they undergo numerous anti-static treatments before they are used in the optical magnifier, for the simple reason that we don't want them to collect dust easily.
No, of course, vitally important with any kind of optical equipment. So yeah, I totally understand that. So for the viewer, can you go into a little bit more detail of how magnification works? There's often, certainly in the UK, sometimes a confusion with the terminology. So yeah, can you expand on how does magnification work?
It's a trick.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a trick actually.
I was expecting that.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating, I think. A magnifying glass, in effect, tricks our eyes into seeing what isn't there. So that means light rays from an object enter the lens parallel, but this lens is refracting those light rays so that the light rays converge. And when they exit the lens, they create a virtual image on the retina of our eye.
Okay.
And this image appears to be larger than the object itself at which we look, because of simple geometry. Our eyes trace the light rays back in straight lines to that virtual image, I call it, and that virtual image is farther away from the eyes than the object, and therefore it appears bigger. So there is, I know it sounds strange if you hear that for the first time, but there is, I think, a quite nice video on this situation in the Optic Academy portal that I mentioned earlier.
Yes. Yes.
So there is a information portal which is also accessible to the public without registration or something like that. And there is a nice video where you can see how those light rays are converged and how they create a virtual image that appears to be bigger, or in other words, how the whole trick works.
Absolutely, and if you're happy to do, we'll include a link to that particular part of the portal, so people can see this video and get more of an understanding. So that leads me on to something which I'm absolutely certain you've heard before, because we get it all the time, and no matter how many exhibitions and people and training days we do, it's pretty much the first question is, how is it not possible to get a magnifier the size of, say, an A4 page, but at a high power? It's something that we constantly asked. So over to you.
Well, you probably would need a forklift to move it around. Now that has something to do with the curvature and or the thickness of the lens. So the higher the power, the optical power of the lens, and the greater is the curvature of the lens. And the greater the curvature, the thicker is the lens. And as the lens thickness increases, the weight increases. That's why I said you probably need a forklift sooner or later. And if the lens size increases, the amount of the curvature decreases. So that gives you a lower magnification power of the lens, but it gives you a greater field of view.
Okay. So basically,
so there is not such a thing as a I don't know, A4 size lens that has 20 times magnification.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's just not possible. And it's not that we or Schweizer can't do it. You will not find it.
No, I fully agree.
Not in optical magnification.
Unless you have very deep pockets and could afford something like the Hubble Space Telescope and things like that, it's out of reach for most people. Okay, that's.
But then we are back to the forklift or even other equipment to move it around. You know.
Absolutely, or in that case, a very large rocket. So again, to expand on and continue on the magnification side, one of the other questions that we are often asked, not just by clients, but also by a lot of rehab teams, is what is the difference between diopter and times magnification, the power, effectively?
Yeah, that's a very common question. Well, the diopter refers to the curvature of the lens.
Okay.
And as the diopter increases, the lens becomes thicker, as we heard right now, and the curvature becomes greater. The power refers to how much larger, let's say, an object is made when looking through that lens, through that magnifying lens. And the power, as you know, is typically indicated by an X, so it's 2x, 4x, or 2 times, 4 times, whatever you want to pronounce it.
Okay.
The tricky thing in this market or in this industry is that there is more than one formula that converts the diopter of the lens into its power. Yes. What we do is we use the common formula magnification equals diopter divided by 4.
Yeah.
There is another formula which says magnification equals diopter divided by 4 plus 1. So that means it's tricky when you compare times magnification, because one manufacturer might use this formula, the other manufacturer might use that formula. The result is the same times magnification, but actually the strength of those two lenses is different because a different conversion formula had been used. So the only correct way, the only good way to compare is compare the diopters.
Yeah.
And that is why, let's say on the Schweizer product side, almost all the Schweizer magnifiers indicate the dioptric power on the handle or on the housing of the product. So let's say when you read there 12 diopter or 12D on the magnifier, and you would like to know its magnification power based on the formula we use, then you say 12 divided by 4, and that is a 3 times magnification power.
Absolutely.
But once again, another manufacturer might say, oh, no, the 12 diopter is 4 times because they use a different formula.
Yeah.
So that's compare diopters to have a proper comparison.
Absolutely. And diopter is, well, certainly from our point of view, it is more accurate. It is a true,
yes.
Which obviously your opticians, optometrists, orthoptists, etc., do prefer to use that measurement as opposed to yeah, times magnification, which is, yeah, it can be, yeah, that can be very much hit and miss. So okay, that's useful. So the next question regarding that is, does a patient use a magnifier with or without reading spectacles, prescription spectacles? What is the benefits? I know from my own experience, I have my own views on that, but from Schweizer's point of view, but from your own point of view, Uwe, what do you think the benefits are for using this type of magnifier with reading glasses?
Well, it depends on the type of magnifier.
Okay.
And it depends on the patient's ability to accommodate. So what does that mean? I said it earlier, a magnifier creates a virtual image. And let's look at lower magnification powers. This virtual image, of course, depending on the power, but this lies, let's say, between 10 and 20 centimeters below the reading material. That is further away than the object I'm looking at. So if I want to see this image clearly, my eyes must accommodate to this longer distance, or if my eyes can't accommodate to that distance, my eyes must be corrected for that distance. So when I use a hand magnifier, it's not a big problem, because normally users, patients, will intuitively adjust the distance of the virtual image by changing the distance between the magnifier and the object viewed. And thus they are still able to continue using their current reading glasses. They just bring the whole thing in the right focus by playing with the distance of that handheld magnifier. Situation is different with a stand magnifier. I mean, the great advantage of a stand magnifier is that it is a fixed focus magnifier, which constantly maintains the magnifier to print or object distance. So one of the advantages is when you think of users who have tremor, for example, that is really a nice thing, that this is in the position where it should be to get a good image. But on one side, this is a great relief for the patient. They don't need to control the focal length. But if they have reading spectacles, and let us think of a person that is my age or older, so let's take somebody who is older. Let's think of a person who has an addition of maybe +3, +3.5 diopters already. And that is, of course, too strong for that virtual image, which is further away than my object.
Yeah.
Sorry. So this has to do with the ideal eye to virtual image distance, and has to do with the eye to lens distance. There is, just coming back to this Optical Academy platform once again, there is a nice little video on that platform also. Maybe you can also show the link to that one on this video. And just without going into too much details here, because it's very difficult just to explain it without a nice PowerPoint presentation. But just as a general rule, as a rule of the thumb, based on experience, of course, it can be said that patients need a pair of spectacles with an addition, well, certainly of not more than 2.5 diopters when they use a stand magnifier.
Okay.
In practice, you will find them something like 1.5 diopters as a good solution for them. Addition 1 to 1.5 with the stand magnifier. Why is it less than the 2.5? first of all, they tend to be a little bit further away than they should be in theory in order to have a more comfortable posture. And they might still have some remaining accommodation ability of their eye.
Okay, okay. So why, bless you, why should I get an illuminated magnifier over a non-illuminated one? If there's a more best practice, I know the answer to this one, but for the benefit of our viewers, what is the benefits of having an illuminated magnifier over a non-illuminated?
Well, when we get older, the ocular media become cloudy. They become increasingly cloudy due to the aging of the eye tissue, due to degenerative eye diseases, such as, let's name the age-related macular degeneration, for example.
Yeah.
So that means a 60-year-old man or woman requires 15 times more light for the same visual task, let's say for reading, than a 10-year-old boy or girl, in order to experience the same level of comfort and effectiveness. So that is already the explanation. That is why magnifiers with integrated lighting are mainly used nowadays.
Okay. Okay.
And a good illumination of the reading material improves contrast and it improves reading speed. So that means the better the quality of the light used with the magnifier, with the magnifying lens, the less power of that magnifying lens is needed. And if I can use a magnifying lens of a lower power, I can use a bigger lens, and that means I have a bigger field of view.
Yeah, okay.
So that is why should magnifiers normally have an illumination.
Have built-in light, absolutely. And what determines the quality of the light based on these?
Many factors. Brightness is something obvious. But another thing that is also obvious is the spread of light. What is meant by spread of light? It's a difference whether I have, let's say, a little bright central spot, or whether I have illuminated, let's say, the full page of my book with the same brightness. So that's the spread of light and the color of the light. What does that mean? I mean, a white light, let's call it white. A white light is a mixture of different light colors. And depending on the color mix, we perceive this in different shades. So a white light that has a relatively high proportion of red, for example, appears warmer. A white light that has a high proportion of blue appears cooler.
Yeah.
So a cooler light is referred to a color temperature which is relatively high. The color temperature is measured in degree Kelvin, whereas a lower Kelvin value indicates that this light has, let's say, more portion of red and appears to be warmer.
Okay, okay. That's again, and something with the Kelvin side, which is available on your range of magnification. You are not just focused on one color temperature. So again, that's a good thing to have as an option anyway. And again, that leads on to which colors work better for particular eye conditions, such as what we've just discussed there, macular degeneration?
Okay, if we take macular condition, macular degeneration, for instance, people with that eye condition usually perceive light with a high blue portion to be brighter.
Okay.
High blue portion means a higher Kelvin value. And they perceive that brighter than the lower Kelvin values, and that means the light with more red parts in it. If you, on the other side, have, for example, a person with visual impairment caused by cloudy ocular media, cataract, for example, these people tend to choose the lower Kelvin values, the warm light temperatures. Okay. But at the end of the day, in order to find what is best for an individual, you have to try it out with that person, and they have to test it. And you will probably find that 80%, 90%, I don't know, of the patients will prefer what you were expecting them to prefer, but you will have the other 10 or 20% who will just feel more comfortable with the thing you didn't expect.
Yeah, exactly. Someone will think it's too bright or it's not bright enough. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And Paul, just as we are talking about light, I know this is not the topic here today. We are more talking about the light in the magnifier. Yes. But obviously, light is very important.
Absolutely.
For a good vision. I mean, not only for people who have a real visual problem, but for everybody. I mean, in the dark you don't see, as simple as that. Yeah. We talked about the quality of light, and we talked about the light temperatures. So all that is not only important for the magnifiers, it's important, let's say, for any task lighting. So if you think of a floor lamp, a table lamp, whether this is a visually impaired person or even you and me, with the right light, we can improve the visual acuity. And of course, with the focus on the visually impaired community, Schweizer has also developed a range of lamps, a lamp series, which is called Multilight Pro. They are made in Germany.
Okay.
They are unique. Patients can choose between 7 different models, and all of them are also available in free light temperatures, and all of them also offer 2 brightness levels. Just to mention that light is not only, or good quality of light is not only a matter of a feature of a magnifier, but in general is an important factor.
Absolutely. And there's already a video on our YouTube channel, and I know there's videos on your website, etc. as well, showing these, and I've done a comparison on one of the new lamps. So yeah, that video is available within our YouTube channel as well. So going back onto the magnification side, obviously you guys are never at rest. You're always developing new things, like the new lighting range, for instance. But I know a couple of years ago you got really ahead of the game and introduced induction charging systems for your very popular ErgoLux MP range. So for the people who don't really know what induction charging is, wireless charging, etc., can you expand on what the Ergo range MP induction range does?
Sure. Well, when you look into the history of magnifier illumination, LEDs had not always been used, of course. LEDs had not always been available. Many years ago, they were used incandescent bulbs, and they were used halogen bulbs and all that kind of stuff. But with the introduction of LED lighting for illuminated magnifiers, the complete products have changed, because that made it possible to use more or less only battery operated models because of the low energy consumption of the LEDs. And low energy consumption, battery operation, because of that, gives you, of course, the flexibility to use the magnifier, yeah, more or less anywhere when you think of a handheld magnifier.
Yeah.
But despite of that low energy consumption, sooner or later you have to change the batteries, and of course depending on the usage hours. And now, let's say older people, which often has to do with other problems, not only, let's say, with eye problems, but with tremor, etc.
Yeah. Dexterity issues, absolutely.
Yeah. People who suffer from things like that. Yeah, for them it can be difficult to open and close a battery box and insert the batteries properly. I mean, we know, I mean, how small are these AAA batteries? And then you have to put in there, in the case of Schweizer, 3 pieces, one in this direction, the other one in that direction, the next one again in this direction. And you expect that from a person who A, doesn't see very well, who B, has shaky hands, can be a challenge.
Yeah.
And the same is, I mean, even when you think of handling cables and plugs and small plugs, if you think of, oh, why don't I just put that on a USB charger like everybody is using nowadays from the smartphones, but then with the USB charger, what is about the orientation can be another issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that can be problems. And that's why Schweizer has developed this Ergolux I mobile magnifier series. I actually stands for inductive. You can also call it intelligent, whatever you want. And these magnifiers use wireless charging technology that eliminates the need to replace batteries. So to charge the magnifier, it has a built-in battery, of course.
Yes.
Like your cell phone has.
Yeah.
And to charge the magnifier, you just place the handle of the magnifier on the charging pad. The charging pad is like the charging pad that people might know from inductive charging of mobile phones. You actually can use the charging pad of your mobile phone for the magnifier, as long as your mobile phone charging pad is according to the G standard. This is the same standard that Schweizer is using, and I think it's the most commonly used standard.
It's the standard,
and
yeah.
You put the handle on that charging pad, and it takes only a very short time to have the device to be ready for use again. I always give that example, and I think this is the real life. Somebody forgets to switch off the magnifier in the evening.
Yeah,
that happens.
Very common.
The next morning, the batteries are empty.
Yeah.
The light doesn't work any longer. Okay, now the first issue is, do I have replacement batteries at home? First question. Second issue, we talked about that before. Maybe that person really, for that person, it really can be a challenge to replace those batteries.
Yeah.
Normally, let's say the daughter, the son, when they visit them, replace the batteries for them. But now it happened that last night, it was off, it was on the magnifier, batteries are drained out, no light, no batteries at home, or nobody to help them replacing them. And then the mail is coming in and they want to read that letter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, if you have this inductive charging magnifier, it's all not a problem, because when you put that handle on the charging pad and actually just for a few seconds, it gives you enough power, and that means light, for a few minutes to at least have a look at that mail that is coming in.
Yeah.
You don't need a full charge for that, right? So that's why I think it is a very, very helpful technology for a lot of people.
And absolutely, and of course, it's unique to your magnifiers, your Ergo Lux range. So yeah, I'll be honest with you, I've tried that myself. It's one of my one of the little showcase ones is that we have on purposely one completely flat magnifier, and we literally put it on the base, count to 10 seconds, and then hand it to the individual, and it's like, okay, what a difference. And yeah, as you say, it'll give you a few minutes worth at least. Obviously, depending on how long you leave it on the charging pad, but yeah, I love that feature. And so what other new technologies?
By the way, sorry to interrupt you, and by the way, they have 2 brightness levels.
Yes,
so when we say it gives you light for I don't know how many minutes, we are talking about the maximum brightness level, really, that it gives you that light. Yeah. So I think it's a great solution.
Absolutely, and again, also available in the 3 different color temperatures as well. So
sure.
That one. So yeah. So what other new technologies have found their way into Schweizer's magnification production over the years?
Well, this Ergolux mobile hand magnifier series with the inductive charging or without the inductive charging, we also have it without the inductive charging, is one of our most popular hand magnifier series. And we have often been asked whether we also could provide a base that converts this hand magnifier into a stand magnifier. We talked about that before. Stand magnifiers are fixed focus magnifiers with a fixed object to lens distance. That means depending on the power of the magnifying lens, this distance varies. So you cannot just take, let's say, one stand or one base for all the powers of the hand magnifiers, but you have to have a different base height for every power. And from a manufacturer point of view, that is a challenging issue, because that would mean you have to make a mold for every stand, for every power.
Yeah.
And this, for example, is where 3D printing technology comes into play. Where with this relatively new technology, a manufacturer like Schweizer can respond quickly to market demands and can produce all the different heights, the many different heights which are needed, even in small batches. And you can say, okay, like a 12 diopter, volumes are bigger, but then you have like a 48 diopter, and you will not find that many people who really want to use a 48 diopter with a stand, but a few
Yeah, absolutely.
might find this to be a good solution, or it might help them. A manufacturer would probably say, well, for a few, I don't invest a lot of money in an injection mold, but with 3D printing technology, we can do that, and we can even help those few people.
Yeah, I'm sure. And one of the things that I've learned about the 3D printing, unlike the injection molding, is once you've got the injection molding, which obviously does cost a lot of money anyway, that's it. That is how it's going to be formed. But with 3D printing, I suppose it's a modification within the software to change parameters to modify whatever you're doing. So it's not that expensive, certainly, than going out and getting a new molding system for a piece. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits with the 3D printing, and I know, again, from the stand's point of view, is it's a great idea. So yeah. So that really leads on to one of the last questions. Schweizer still own and run its own production for magnification?
Yes. We are still having our own magnifier production.
Okay.
I mean, well, I don't know personally, because I mentioned it before. The company is 180 years old, but when you look at the history book of the company, you can see that the company has always continued to expand production workshops, and we still do that. We just talked about 3D printing, which Schweizer does in-house. And all our lenses, all our plastic parts are injection molded in-house on our own equipment, with our own employed staff. And the molding, the assembly, all steps are performed in-house as well. So we make the parts, we do the assembly here. We have a Kanban production control system, I would call it.
Okay.
So that enables us to ensure that all parts are always available and are available just in time for delivery to our customers when they are needed.
Absolutely, and I can certainly vouch for that. That it is a system that works. It works very well. So that is brilliant. That is brilliant. Well, I'd just like to thank you. I think the questions and the answers have been very detailed. So once again, Uwe, I'd just like to thank you very much for your time today. And yeah. Absolutely. We will, as always, we will put all the relevant information. So I will put the links to the Optic Academy within there, and also the links to for the lighting side of it. But yeah, thank you very much for your time today.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk a little bit about Schweizer and optical magnifiers and product solutions from Schweizer. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thanks. You take care, and bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.